Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 224th episode. In the last 223 episodes, we have talked to, interacted with more than 4,000 school leaders on this very platform where they've shared their ideas, opinions, innovation, and what all new are they doing in the education space. तो नमस्कार, आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 224वें एपिसोड में। पिछले 223 एपिसोड में हमने करीबन 4,000 से ज्यादा शिक्षाविदों से बातचीत करी और उनसे ये जानने की कोशिश करी कि वो शिक्षा को कैसे बदल रहे हैं और शिक्षा उन्हें कैसे बदल रही है। So in the next 60 minutes that we have today with all of you, we'll try to explore one more aspect of teen life, which typically is, super hyped, super critical for a teenager, and most importantly, it's now a family decision. ये एक पारिवारिक निर्णय हो गया है and हमेशा से पारिवारिक रहा है, but now when we talk a lot of teen independence and when we talk of individuality, then how do these decisions evolve? Who are the people who guide us? We'll talk about career exploration, and most importantly, how do mentors come around in it? How do people who guide you come around in it? And how do you really work with them? But before we start, just some ground rules of the Blub World Web Talk. So think of this as a speaking sprint. ऐसे 100 मीटर की रेस के जैसे देखिए, not as a speaking marathon. So the speaking time is limited. Once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp and entertaining for everyone. When you have the final 30 seconds remaining for your, talk to conclude, you'll see either my hand up in the air or BlubWorld's hand raised up. Once you see that, you can know that the final 30 seconds are there to conclude whatever you're speaking. Secondly, this is a bilingual platform. आप अंग्रेजी या हिंदी में से किसी भी भाषा का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। कोशिश करें इनमें से किसी एक भाषा का इस्तेमाल करें. I might not get the third one. So thank you so much everyone for joining us. This is the 224th episode. And today what we're talking about is how do we find and work with mentors who support career exploration. तो इसमें इस टॉपिक के दो एलिमेंट्स हैं. पहला एलिमेंट है that how do we really find the right people who could really mentor us, guide us, and take us through this journey or handhold us. And the second aspect is that if you get one, how do you work with them? Because it becomes a very big challenge that when, in a teenager's life, there's somebody who comes and dictates the way you should live life, the way you should take decisions, the relationship becomes rebellious. The teenager becomes rebellious. So what do you do at that point and how do you make things relevant? Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Let me invite the first speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Shoury Kuttapa, who's the Academic Manager and Counselor at Directorate of Admissions and Academic Outreach at Amrita Vidyapeetham, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Shoury, sir, over to you. For the next 3 minutes, please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Cold welcome indeed. I just drove through hailstorms on the outskirts of Panipat. A very, very relevant area that we are trying to explore today on how do we actually work with mentors. A couple of points I thought I'd lay out since I have the pleasure of going first. See, a few things I feel that a good mentorship program must, keep in mind when you're actually getting into it. A couple of things that you must, both the mentor and from a mentee's perspective, must keep in mind is number one, a mentorship program must decrease the time to competency. Yeah? Every mentorship program must be aimed at decreasing your time to competency, meaning the time you take to build a particular competency. Every mentorship program, whoever you're choosing to work with or however you're choosing to work with, please ensure that this is on top. Number two, every mentorship program must fill knowledge and skill gaps that exist that cannot be addressed through formal systems. When you're eventually starting your careers, when you're completing your undergraduation, post-graduation, you're getting into organizations, there will be a set of knowledge and skill gaps that the formal education system can plug, but there will also be certain knowledge and skill gaps that the formal system or the existing education system may not be able to cover. Yeah, so your mentorship program must include this in its why part of it as well. Third is a mentorship program must help identify and retain at-risk knowledge. Knowledge which is at risk of, slowly whiling away, slowly vanishing from, from our grasps. These can be aspects like, if a person has got certain leadership skills, he or she when she joins an organization, there is a tendency of this kind of knowledge or this kind of skill set to come at risk, because you're now focusing on how to contribute from day one. Yeah. So the third aspect is a good mentorship program must aid to, sort of protect these at risk knowledge and skills. Most organizations today have understood and appreciate the importance of a good mentorship program. Most organizations have their own mentorship program, which kicks in from day one. All new joinees, they have access to mentors, or they are immediately connected, to someone in the organization who can take up mentorship. Most of the times, people who join new have a choice. They can also choose under whom they would like to, gain their mentorship. So very quickly, the three things which I was mentioning: one, at-risk knowledge. The mentorship program must help to protect and retain at-risk knowledge, must fill knowledge and skill gaps that the existing formal system may, it may get overlooked in the existing formal or existing system. And lastly, but most important, it must decrease time to competency. It must decrease the time anyone takes to sort of gain a particular competence.
Thank you so much, Shoury, sir. I think three very relevant points. Looking at trying to preserve the at-risk knowledge, at the same time bridging that knowledge skill gap, and also looking at different aspects of the personality of the individual who's getting associated or getting a part of the mentorship program. If you already have one program in the institution, look at the content of it. If you don't have one program right now in place, prepare one as quickly as possible, because it's known that when there are right kind of humans around you, the skill development, the knowledge development, everything happens a little faster if there's somebody who's there to check your nuances, add to them, add to your skill, add to your knowledge. Thank you so much, Shoury, sir. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Bhavna Chibber, the principal of Laburnum Public School from Gurugram, Haryana. Bhavna ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। सर मैं यहाँ से शुरू करना चाहूंगी जहां आपने कहा fill knowledge and skill gap. So as I'm a leader in a K-12 segment, school should be the incubation center for me. They should prepare the learners to be life ready. Right now, the Indian school system has started working on it. We are trying to bridge all these gaps. And as far as when we talk about, specifically I will talk about, because I'm dealing with the adolescent age, the teens basically in my school. So for me, guiding them is very important. So my stage will be a little bit different. I will tell them that at the early stage, working with mentor is like aligning with their ability, then continuous process to say, it's not like that I could, we need a mentor and coach. These are two words, mentor and coach. So you can play like Sachin or you want to be a Sachin. So there is a difference. The mentoring and coaching, these are two different things. So this is very important. So we need to focus on the child has to be told that you have to find your career aspirations. Aspiration means what is your passion, consistent passion. Then aspirations to be followed by career advancements. Then that advancement to be shifted to the career development. And then the person need build a career. So the child need to find a mentor who could able to find a task. He has to find how that particular mentor can help me in doing so. How capable is that mentor? How honest? How much expertise that mentor has? So all these things. So we need to find out that when we are finalizing a mentor for us, for a teenager, I'm specifically talking about. They need to find their passion first. Then they have to think who can align with their passion. Yes, she is my English teacher and I want to be an English teacher. Or I want to be a scientist. I want to be an astronaut. So should I connect with my English teacher or my science teacher? We need to relate it with that. For example, I need to have a career after 5 years or 7 years in the field of health or tourism or automobile or even social media, to whom I should take as my guru. So एक सही, हम वैसे भी अपने पुराणों में कहते आए हैं, गुरु बिना गति नहीं है, गुरु बिना ज्ञान नहीं. So this is mentorship. So we need to align at the very basic level, and then we need to have a career interface, and it's a very sensitive task. In the school, we need to provide that kind of a platform. Yes, come, we will provide you that interface. So in my school, we are providing that. We have a collaboration with good organization, those who are giving them that these are the possible options. This is your passion, follow your passion. And please follow it and with this channel. So schools are ready. We are ready for this globalization, and we are ready to shift our learners from campus to corporate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhavna, ma'am. So the process for you for mentorship, for identifying the mentor, working with the mentor starts with career aspiration, identifying your passion. एक बहुत बड़ा challenge जो passion identification में हमेशा आता है वो यही है कि साहब हम हमारे infatuation और passion इसका differentiation एक teenager कर नहीं पाता. उनके लिए it becomes a little bit challenging. This is something that excites me and that's their passion. So the definition of passion is a little bit typical for a teenager. Then once you've identified it, go to the kind of people who can align with your passion, who have the right kind of subject knowledge. Try to find a subject matter expert. If you want to be an astronaut, don't go to your English teacher. You might go to your science teacher. So try to find the right individual who could mentor you through. At the same time, while you're selecting a mentor, look at the mentor credibility. That is he somebody who is free of alignments? Is he somebody who does not come with a lot of strings attached to it? So try always, do a small little background check when you really have a mentor for yourself. And most importantly, what you talked about, that making children ready for, the next leap. Now, when we talk of this, here is where mentorship becomes critical, because you'll be teaching them exploration, you'll be teaching them life skills, you'll be teaching them, skills that would take them through that step. But at the same time, is a teenager really in that stage that he can take this decision? Or in this decision, we need some kind of intervention from somebody, and how should that be coming? So let's try to know it from further speakers. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Dr. Sangeeta Sinha, the former principal for Happy Convent Public School from Bhiwardi, Rajasthan. Sangeeta, ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes. A very warm welcome.
Good evening, all. So, am I audible? Yeah. Thank you so much. As long as, as far as mentorship is concerned, I would like to focus more on the, we talk about the expertise, we talk about, the people who are really had in-depth knowledge on this particular subject. But then, according to me, I really feel the person, the mentor, especially, has to be the authentic person who can really, genuinely, who can guide identify the problem of the mentor and mentee, and can give the proper guidance accordingly. It's not that which is something whatever we are giving the guidance, which is far from the realistic world. It should not be like that. We really need to understand what exactly the person is intent to, or what is his choices, what is his likes, what is his dislikes. Accordingly, you can always, give the guidance. That should be based on their, then we can talk about the passion and whatever, right? But first, we really need to identify the interest of that, mentee. And then accordingly, we can give our own opinion, our own expert advices of, This is what I feel.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am. You talked about how do we start the process by identifying that interest or that inclination of the teenager, and then taking them through a journey of opinionation and adding advice and adding a lot of guidance to it. I think this is one more aspect that could be considered when we look at trying to find the right kind of mentor for ourselves. But I would again stress on identifying a passion. I think is a process that has to be defined. It is a process that has to be given by somebody who is ready to handhold. Because just telling that yes, try to find the interest or try to find the passion is something that a teenager might not be able to demystify. For him, it might be a myth or a mystery to figure out. But thank you so much, Sangeeta ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mrs. Shalu Babbar, the principal of GD Goenka High School from Gurugram, Haryana. Shalu ma'am, over to you for the next 3 minutes and a very warm welcome.
So much, and it is such a pleasure to hear such wonderful thoughts coming from learned people. Just to add to all of this, I think mentorship program, first of all, you have to understand it is not a new concept. It is an absolutely traditional, ancient concept, जो हम पहले गुरुकुल सिस्टम जिसको कहते थे. एक certain age में बच्चा गुरुकुल में आता था और वो लगभग 8 से 10 साल वहां रहता था. During this tenure of 8 to 10 years, the gurus were constantly observing the child, helping the child find his passion and the skill training. And then they were grooming that child in such a way that he would be able to pursue what he was made for, right? So now, even if we talk of, our ancient texts like Mahabharata, at a certain point, Krishna became Arjun's mentor. And the first thing which a mentor has to understand is that they don't have to make the mentee like them. They have to find what the mentee is all about. What is it that he aspires to do in life? What is it that he can acquire? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? What and how he needs to be guided on the right path. So, sometimes I have seen in one of the school where I worked, we had a very beautiful mentorship program. But unfortunately, some of the mentors tried to make the mentee like how they are and how they think the field should be. So that is one thing which the mentor has to understand, that it is not your aspiration that needs, that carving. It is the child's aspiration which you need to guide. So I'll just briefly explain how we did the mentorship program. Now, of course, everybody cannot be a mentor. So you need to identify or invite people who are really interested to do that task, because it is a very big responsibility and it is not a one-day's job. It's going to last for a couple of years. Maybe you will be the mentor for that child for next 3 to 4 to 5 years also. So it's a journey. So you have to have the patience and dedication to keep a very close watch on your mentee, because that child is also growing emotionally, physically, and mentally. So what he aspires to do today may not be something that he wants to do after 1 or 1.5 or 2 years. So his thought process will change. He may get distracted. So how does a mentor keeps on aligning that child or that mentee to the mission with which, they started this journey? So that alignment is very, very important. Patience is very important. And of course, it is also we have to see that, so if this mentorship program is running in a particular institute, employees are not permanent. They may leave, or for some reason they may go. So it has to be a very well-maintained dossier, documented properly, month after month, week after week, year after year, so that in case the mentor changes, it passes on to the next person with all the relevant details, so that nothing gets lost in this process. So, and the mentor has to see the start point of the journey and the end point of the journey. And he has to bridge all the small things that are required to reach the destination. And of course, like I said, you have to be very patient. You have to be very dedicated throughout. Even the child needs to understand that this entire process is for his development. So there is a lot of bonding, trust, and beautiful communication between the mentor and the mentee. And of course, small milestones which they achieve together keeps on adding a lot of motivation, keeps on adding, a lot of incentives also. See, some people do get motivated through incentives. So if a school or an institute is appointing teachers as mentors, there should be certain incentives to provide to the employees so that they also feel constantly motivated to continue with this entire process. It's just a small gesture, but it matters. I've seen it matters. And I think if it is done in the right manner, of course, there can be excellent sportsmen, excellent singers, excellent dancers, lovely photographers, be it any field. And if you have the right mentor, your life completely changes. I have seen children shaping into something very beautiful if they got the right mentor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalu ma'am. The 3 minutes are over. I think some very important elements that you talked about, that mentor-mentee relationship, and when you're trying to figure out a mentor, when you're going through this journey, is something which is super slow paced. And it must be super slow paced. You talked about 2 very important elements. The first, it has to be taken up slowly. You'll have to identify the right kind of people. And the second most important thing, that you have to document the journey. Because until and unless the journey is not documented, the power cannot be shifted. And if the power cannot be shifted, and if there is any discontinuance in the process, that could be fairly detrimental. So we'll have to, work on these 2 aspects of mentorship as well. So I've listened to all the speakers for once today, that what do they think that when we talk of mentorship, when we talk of mentors, mentees, what are we actually looking at? जब आप अपने आसपास का atmosphere देख रहे हैं, अपना school देख रहे हैं, college देख रहे हैं, तो उस समय पे how do you really identify those mentors? So before this session comes to an end, there's one more question that I want to put to all of you, and whoever wants to, answer that, you can. अगर अभी कोई, if there's a child who's a teenager, 13 to 19 की age में अगर अभी कोई बच्चा है, and उसे immediately कोई mentor ढूंढना है, तो what should he be tapping to? उसे क्या तुरंत क्या कर 2 या 4 steps लेने चाहिए so that he can find a mentor as quickly as possible? The problem is they might not have a background of having a long mentor legacy. He might also not have the right kind of atmosphere. ऐसे में वो बच्चा क्या क्या कर सकता है so that he is able to identify the right individual? Anyone can answer from all of you.
Your question is very important, but before this, that you were sharing that passion, how to find the passion. So at this point of age, because we are dealing with the students, so we know we need to give them the exposure. So at this age, if just determine what motivates you. So first step is tell them to make a dossier or a diary or a document it. What fascinates you? Are you fascinated that when the plane is flying in the sky, or you love to see the stars? I'm just relating with the age group, 13. So your questions revolves around that only. Or you love to write poems, or you love to see the heritage sites. So first of all, you have to document your passions, your thoughts, what motivates you. Then identify your requirements. Second step should be like this, that yes, I have, for example, I like stars. I like stars. Now, what are my requirements? How I should find a mentor for this reason? I like stars and I need to go through and I need to go in detail. Should I connect with my science teacher? No, my science teacher is not good, but my bio teacher has more knowledge on this, or my geography teacher has a very good knowledge. So you need to find and relate with your requirements. Then select the potential mentor as in accordance to your passion. As ma'am has rightly said, Shalu ma'am, that we do have a mentor program, but when we talk about a school system in a private school, it is very difficult to hire. You need to work in your system only. So what we do in our school, we assign a teacher, a few group of students that you are a mentor. I can't hire a new teacher for this. I can't hire a new person for this. So you are the mentor, and your documentation is always an essential part. Earlier, we used to maintain registers, and it was there in old times also. बही खाता होता था, अब वो बही खाता आपका गूगल शीट हो गई है. बस इतना सा अंतर आया है, क्योंकि हमें पेपर भी तो बचाना है. So उसके बाद start with your network. आपने उनसे बात करनी है, उनसे जुड़ना है. मैम ये बताइए, मैम मैं आधा घंटा आपसे ले लूं. You have to deal with it. Then you have to prepare your pitch that, ma'am, I have made this, or will you be able to help me? Will you be able to support me? So you can a child can find a mentor, first of all, determining what motivate, identify the requirement, then select potential mentors who are available to him or her, start with her network or him or her network, and prepare the pitch that, ma'am, just for example, normally in schools, a student will come to you, ma'am, I love reading books. Can you please help me? So the teacher guide them. So this is how a teacher can be a good psychologist, a good counselor, and a good mentor if I had been trained for that reason. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. Identifying that passion, moving to who's the right individual, then trying to tap your network, and then when you try to tap your network, prepare your pitch, your elevator pitch, कि सामने वाला भी तैयार हो जाए आपकी बात सुनने के लिए. So again, I would like to, come back to the question that I really asked, that if you have to give them, an immediate advice that, if you don't have a mentor legacy, if you, have no idea about how to go in, exploring your career, what would be your simple 1 or 2 steps that you can tell any individual, any teenager, anywhere, that, do 1 and 2, these 2 things, and life will be quite sorted for you. Anyone who wants to add, you can just unmute yourself and share. Yes, Shalu ma'am, please.
So let's say, for example, in your case, what you mentioned, the child is unable to find the right mentor, and the time is very, very short and sweet. So he has to really do something. Now, what we need to tell the students right from the stage when they enter their preteens is that they need to do a goal setting project for themselves. They need to make short-term goals and long-term goals. Now, if I have done a goal setting for myself, even if I don't have a mentor, I know I have to reach this particular destination. So all that I have to do is find a way on my own now. Somewhere, someday, I will be on my own. So why not start from today? So, all right. And another thing is, if they have this habit of making short-term goals, they will know how to achieve it. And if they have not achieved it, they will try and bridge the gap, fill the loops, and then probably achieve it the next time. That is one. Another thing is, a mentor need not be always a specialist. Sometimes it can be a random person, because all the time you don't need a mentor to give you knowledge. You just need sometimes a mentor to provide you an emotional support and motivate you. So these kids do understand logic, do get motivated by certain mentors, which may not be from school or from their friend circle. But of course, they need to be the right people showing the right direction, because mentors may be also there to distract them. So if the child is sensible, he will be preparing his own goals. He will be setting his own targets. He will try to achieve those targets. For that, he may take help. And now knowledge is so readily available on WhatsApp and Google. They need to find the right search engines and reach the right material for that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So listen to all the speakers for today, that how can you typically start your own journey of becoming a mentee and finding the right kind of mentor. But when you start on this journey, the first step is really to introspect a lot, trying to figure out what you really need in life. Because from that starts all the decision making and everything that will happen about your career. We normally, when we do these career talks, I always try to say one thing, that career decision is something that must never be done. You must never take a career decision. The career decision has to happen. It's something that has to take its own journey. So never think of it as something that has to happen on an instant. It is something that has to happen over a course of time. And it has to happen on its own. You can be a party who contributes to it, but you must not be the one who really takes it. So while we were working with so many teenagers, what we figured out was that the best way to give mentorship to n number of teenagers without being actively involved in their life was to share stories. Because humans, as humans, have a psychological flaw, which is called story bias. We always try to create a cause-effect relationship with things around us, and that's why stories inspire us the most, and they stay with us the most. So we said, let's figure out the most inspiring stories of teenagers around the world. And that's where we as an institution were born. And that's where BlubWorld was born, where every month we try to showcase teenagers who are doing amazingly well in life and share their stories with many more teens. And while doing this, we figured out that let's bring these amazing teens together onto a single platform. And that's where our non-profit initiative, the world's first and the only elected parliament of teenagers, got created, which is the World Teen Parliament, where every year we try to identify 100 teens who are ready to improve the world. We train them, we mentor them, and we fund them so that they can work on their ideas of world improvement. So the conclusion of whatever comes out of this is just find the right stories. Because when you go to people, they will also be telling you stories. Always try to find stories, because that's where the solution of most of the challenges lies. And that's why humans may perish, but stories don't. And that's why mythologies and religions keep living forever. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Blub World Web Talk. This was the 224th episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, and if you want to attend the future sessions, open your audio and say a big yes. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Have an amazing evening. Namaste.